All right, so tomorrow we'll be writing an essay, and we'll be writing on one of these two prompts. And this document is assignment 010, assignment 10 in the writing workshop section of Google Classroom. And in it, we've been collecting some evidence that we might use in an essay that we think might be um, helpful. So the first prompt here asks us to talk about how a character's relationship to the past contributes to the meaning of the work as a whole. The second one talks about how the mysterious origins shape or contribute to the meaning of the work as a whole. And you'll see this language in a lot of AP literature, open-ended prompts, and it's meaning of the work as a whole. When you see that, you should immediately think theme. And a theme is not a single word like freedom, justice, or ignorance, or anger, or cruelty, or any of that. A theme is a statement, a universal statement or truth that the play is trying to get across. So, statements like, and there are plenty of them just uttered in Oedipus. Like one of the great ones is, no one can betray their family and think they can get away with it. That's like a pretty strong theme. There are a couple of other really strong themes in the play, and I'll show you where to look to find others. But you cannot even get a C, which is like a passing grade, unless you discuss how the prompt leads to the theme. That like the play through the prompt is contributing to some sort of message. So now I'll show you like how to maybe think about some possible themes. So this document, which is posted as material on Google Classroom, is called The Great Questions. And this is not an exhaustive list. Like I'm sure there are other great questions that literature asks about. But these are questions that tend to come up a lot in literature. And if you think that the author has an opinion about one of these questions, and that opinion is perceptible by thinking about the incidents in the play, then you are answering the great questions. Aristotle said that a play needs to have thought. Like the play needs to make you think. And what it makes you think about isn't the spectacle. Like we're not just going, wow, what great actors, or oh, look how sad it is. The play needs to also make us consider the message or meaning of life. Like, what does the play tell us about the meaning of life? So, if you think any of these questions are applicable to the play, that is, you think that the play reveals some sort of philosophy about these questions, then that would be a good thing to write about. So, there's a couple of tensions in answering one of these prompts. First, do you think the play is trying to answer one of these questions? If so, that would be a great question to write about. But then, second, do you think that the author answers the question in the way that the prompt asks you? So the first one asks you about a relationship to the past. So do you think that Oedipus's relationship to the past is relevant to any of these questions? And if it is, how do you think the author would answer that question based on the character's relationship to the past? And then you just defend your answer to the question with textual references. So let's look at a few of these questions. So right at the top, we have the question, what is the nature of the universe? Well, one of the questions here is, what is the nature of evil? So we have evil acts in the play. We have a dude who murders his father and marries his mother. But notice that the evil deed is committed in ignorance. So we have this philosophy in the play that much of our evil deeds are committed in ignorance. And since those evil deeds are committed in the past, and Oedipus is completely ignorant to the consequences, we could say that that is relevant to his relationship to the past, because his relationship to the past is ignorance. He does not know. So the play is giving us this perception that evil is not even often intentional. That a lot of evil is about the consequences of those actions, and those consequences don't even become apparent maybe in a person's lifetime, and only through like dogged investigation might that come about. And I think that'd be a decent essay to write. Another one here in this first category that I like is why, if God is just, does he allow the good to suffer? Well, Oedipus was good for sure, and he was proper, and he was high class, and he fit all of those character traits that Aristotle talked about. But he was prideful, and he was arrogant, and the good suffer in Oedipus because they try to adjust their fate, their position in the universe. And, you know, that's kind of one of the reasons why people suffer is their pride. I think there's a variety of questions in this one that you could answer in the same way that we just discussed, and also the nature of God. Um, Gods are they're sort of angry, they're prideful, they punish people who try to put themselves on their level. So there's a lot of answers that you could do here. But I think probably some of the more interesting questions are actually under Roman numeral 3. Look at the second question. Are people determined, or do we have free will? Well, I think the play has a lot to say about that, because some things Oedipus was determined to do. Like the oracle said that he would murder his father and marry his mother, and even though Oedipus tried not to do those things, he did them anyway. But Oedipus did have the free will enough to decide to discover the truth. He had many opportunities to just drop it and never figure it out and just enjoy his ignorance, but he just couldn't help himself, which makes us wonder, like, maybe the fact that he couldn't help himself was a character trait. After all, he was very curious and intelligent. He defeated the Sphinx. His native wit, he calls it, like his inborn skill of figuring things out, sort of caused him to destroy himself. So maybe even though he had a choice to not figure out like the truth, he was born with certain traits that made even that inescapable. So this is like very complicated in the play, and embracing the complexity and showing how Sophocles shows like both sides of this tension between free will and determination would be a very high level essay. So on Roman numeral 4, I don't know about this one. I think maybe we could talk about how people are to treat others. Several times, Oedipus gets really angry. He's really good at threatening people's lives. He gets super angry at Jocasta, the shepherd, Tiresias. I mean, the instigating moment. He was pushed off the road by some guy, and he thought it was necessary to challenge that dude to a duel and like kill him and all of his servants. I mean, this is a person who acts rashly and does not turn the other cheek. And I'm wondering if Sophocles is making us question that sort of machismo, that sort of like, masculine idea of like acting first to preserve your honor instead of being more thoughtful and reflective. That might be a bit of a stretch of an essay. I don't know. I mean, there might be something there. Anyway, I just went through this and I kind of talked about some of these questions, and there are others that I just kind of skipped over. Maybe have a broader discussion in smaller groups or with the whole class about how some of these ideas or questions are answered in the play. The bottom line is that if you don't talk about what the play has to say in a broader sense, that is, the meaning of the work as a whole, the universal statement or philosophy about how to live our life. If you don't write about that in your essay, you're even if you do everything else well, your spelling's perfect, grammar's good, you have good organization, and you even like relate some of the incidents in the play. If you don't talk about how the prompt is leading us to an understanding of the theme or message of the text, you cannot get a grade better than a D. You just can't do it. So my hope is that you will have this discussion. I want to warn you about one very like cliche interpretation. The one meaning of the work that comes up a lot is that ignorance is bliss. And I don't think that that is wrong. I think you could definitely write that essay. But I think it will be hard to get a higher score because in order to show sophistication in your writing, you need to have like a complex message, something where it's not all obvious. And I think that to say that Oedipus would have been happy in ignorance is, I wouldn't say it's a misread, but it is a bit of an oversimplification. Because if you think about it, if Oedipus had like preserved himself and taken Tiresias and Jocastas and even the shepherds like advice to just like walk away from the question, would he have been happy with Thebes, everyone dying of a plague, of the mothers giving birth to stillborns, him failing his whole community? Like, I don't think he would have been blissful. He probably would have been deposed as incompetent, not able to help his people. So, like, I question that whole ignorance is bliss unless you're going to like explain why that is a bit of an oversimplification. So just be a little bit wary on that particular front.